Welcome or welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people, where we speak about critical issues in the blindness community and all other issues from across the universe and galaxy. Tonight, we have the honor and privilege to be joined by a great friend in the community, Jessica Dail. I've been wanting to interview you for a while. You do a lot in amateur radio, and outside of that, you do a lot for the blindness community. You're in a lot of different interest groups around the community, and you do a lot in life. So I will ask you my one famous question, or I should say, my one commonly well-known question that I like to ask in these interviews to get us started. And you can talk for really an hour, but I will certainly interject as I need to help you to share your story. But here's the question. Who is Jessica Dail? You may start your story about who you are as a person, your life journey, blindness, everything and anything you want to share. So who's Jessica Dail? Go right ahead.
Thank you, Aaron. I am honored to be here. So, as Aaron said, I am Jessica Dail. I've been in the American Council of the Blind since January of 2020. I found the American Council of the Blind pretty much by accident. I was actually listening to one of back then it was ACB Radio, now ACB Media streams, and I heard a bunch of people talking, and I can't remember exactly what the conversation was about, but I was just fascinated by it, and I ended up getting in contact with some of the people that I heard and becoming really good friends with them, like almost instantly. And I've never had that happen before. So that was just a really cool experience. And I've now been to 3 national conventions. I love national convention. I have yet to attend a state convention. I am located in Michigan. So I'm a part of MCBVI, Michigan Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired. I'm on the fundraising and tech committees for my state affiliate. I am also involved in ACB Next Generation, which is an affiliate for those ages 18 to 40. I'm thinking about joining their publications and website committees because I love to write and I have a website of my own. My website, as does theirs, runs on WordPress, so I'm very familiar with WordPress because I use it whenever I put something on my website. So, yeah, I am visually impaired. I've been visually impaired since birth. My vision has changed. I started out having 2500, which is decent, and then now I have 20/1200 in one eye and 20/2800 in the other. And I don't know what changed that. I honestly don't.
Okay.
And
Well,
when I went to the doctor this past May, my low vision specialist to be more specific, I could see things and read things that I couldn't 2 years prior. So I have no idea why or how my vision changed, but it did. And the doctors were floored. My mom was shocked. I was shocked. So I should have my new glasses in about 2 weeks. And I'm pretty excited because I'll finally be able to see things again.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty good. Yeah. Well, in my case, I was born blind with glaucoma. and a congenital heart defect. I do have usable vision, but my eyes have never really improved. They've just kind of stayed stable my whole life, which is great. And it's really good to hear how you have had such a great experience with ACB. I think that's really important for us blind people to find an organization that helps us and that has a really good program and a lot of activities to do. So that's really good. Yeah. So what can you tell us about, maybe your younger days when you were growing up in Michigan? By the way, so have you lived in Michigan your whole life, by the way?
Yes, I have.
Right? And so, although Michigan gets a reputation for being one of America's coldest states, obviously you're used to it. So what do you think though? What's the reality of living in Michigan all year round? I'm sure you have a lot of beautiful days in the summer, right? So what's it really like for blind people in Michigan?
Truth be told, all seasons are beautiful. I like them all for one reason or another. Even when it's bitterly cold and snowing, the snow on the ground is just beautiful. Even up north where our cabin is, it's just gorgeous. Um, Living in Michigan as a blind person is, it's good. I mean, depending on what services you need, there are different programs here, and I'm sure other states have similar things that can help you. For example, once someone turns 14, you can start receiving services from what used to be the Michigan Commission for the Blind, now renamed BSBP, or the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons. And they also have the Youth Low Vision program, which assists youth in getting glasses.
I see. Very good. And what is so special about turning 14? Why do you suppose it's the age of 14 in the state of Michigan as far as starting services goes? What's that about?
I honestly don't know. I think that's just the number they picked.
Well, I mean, it's probably not just the number they picked. There's probably a story behind that number. Um, that might be the year that some blind people start going to high school for some people. So that might be it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. You might be right.
Yeah, that sounds like perhaps that could be the answer, but it's probably something silly or some weird reason. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, when you were growing up, did you attend like any camps for the blind, like in Michigan or what, I mean, I mean, we've known of each other for a while, but I don't really know a whole lot about you. How did you spend, your childhood and then your adolescent years and things like that? What types of activities filled your time, especially during the summer?
During the summer, I did go to camps when I was younger, and even as an adult, there's a winter camp for the blind that I went to once. Um, it's up north. So, yeah, I spent most of my summers when I was younger camping with my parents and other friends and stuff. So it was fun.
Right, right. So how many states have you traveled to around the United States outside of Michigan?
Oh my goodness. I've never counted. A lot. I've been to Florida, Tennessee. I'm not sure.
I see. Okay.
My mom and I do like to travel a lot together though, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's great. Um, so and then after high school, you've told me a little bit about your IT stuff that you do, but I've come to understand that you're someone who's very interested in technology and IT. You do a lot with technology and IT, right? Why don't you talk about that for a bit?
sure. So I've been a JAWS user since, oh gosh, JAWS 9, 10, something, a long time. JAWS came out the same year that I was born, actually. So, yeah, I use JAWS on Windows, VoiceOver on all my Apple products. I've recently become a Linux user as well, thanks to the program that I was in when I was in college. When I was in college, I didn't graduate, but I studied IT. I was trying to go for a computer science degree, but I ended up having to drop the programming class because unfortunately I couldn't get the accommodations that I needed.
Yeah, this is such a big problem for not just you, but so many blind people are either not going to college at all or not completing college. Yeah, this is a major problem. So, what ended up happening with that? I recall that you mentioned to me that you were taking some programming class, and so did you ever go back and finish that, or like where does that stand?
No, I did not, and I'm probably not going to. I may try to pursue learning Python, which is the programming language that I was learning in college, on my own. The book that we used in that class, I believe, is actually available on Bookshare. I know that for anyone who's listening, I don't know if it's still available, if the recordings and whatnot are still out there,
Mm.
but BITS, Blind Information Technology Specialists, of which I'm also a member, recently concluded a Python class, and that book is available on Bookshare, the book that they used. So I'm probably going to pick up one or both of those books and try to see if I can teach myself Python, because believe it or not, most of Linux is written in Python. And if you're a user of the NVDA screen reader, that is written in Python. So if you know Python, then you could either end up fixing bugs in Linux or developing new things for the NVDA screen reader. Among other things, there's a bunch of things you can do with Python.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, I was never really interested in that, but I think that's a great career path if you really love doing that. That's great. So what job, would you like if you like what would be your dream job that you would like to do, or what I guess would be your contribution that you would like to make in the community as far as, doing programming work, but what influence would you want to have, especially for other blind people? What do you think?
Funny you mentioned jobs. I just got one. I work
Oh, that's
in
right.
customer service from home for my local paratransit agency.
And would you like to expand on that and explain what the agency is, how it works, what type of work you're doing, and how that's accessible? Because I think that's a great job. Yeah. Hmm.
Yes, and the reason why I mentioned it is because you just mentioned moving up in your career a minute ago, and there is definitely ample opportunity to do that here with this company.
Well, good. Well tell us all about it. So if you want, what's the company and exactly what do they do?
I work for the MTA Flint. MTA stands for Mass Transportation Authority. If you want to check them out, their website is mtaflint.org. We do a bunch of things in and for the community. We help with the Food Bank of Eastern Michigan fundraiser. They have a Empty Bowls fundraiser where um, that's part of the food bank. I mean, we do so much stuff. We provide transportation to people who otherwise wouldn't be able to get it to the grocery store, doctor's appointments, work. I've seen them even show up a time or two at my church.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Great.
they will take people anywhere in the county.
Well, that's wonderful. That's so good. And what's the history behind that company? How did this mass transit company get started in the first place?
Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that question.
That's okay. Well, maybe at a later date, maybe you can check into it and regale us or rather inform us around the community, especially in our private WhatsApp group about that, because I think people would like to know the history of that, how it all got set up. But that's fine. What How did you find this job with them though in the first place? Like how was the connection made? Because a lot of blind people, not you or I perhaps, but many other blind people struggle with building rapport. So how did you build rapport with this agency to get this job?
Yes, great question. So I am actually really good friends with the CEO of the company, who's been there for over 40 years. My family and I are great friends of his. So that's basically how it worked is he reached out to, well, my mom saw him in the grocery store while I was in training at the end of last year, and he went on a short trip, and when he got back, he reached out to my mom, and they set up a time for me to go to his office to be interviewed, and I was, and they pretty much hired me right then and there, and that was in February, and then it took a little while to get my equipment going, so I didn't start training until March 20th, and I ended training at the end of May, and then I started working from home shortly thereafter.
What's
So
really
I've been working for this company since March 20th of this year.
wonderful? So training is really important, right? So what sorts of things
Yes.
did you need to learn in that training boot camp for the company?
I had to learn what to say when I answered the phone, how to deal with different situations that customers might be in. There was a whole bunch of stuff,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I enjoyed it and I enjoy my job
Good.
because you're always learning something new and no day is ever equal. Like I could have a super busy day like I had this past Tuesday post holiday, or I could have a day where the phone never rings.
I see. I see. So what are the variety of situations that you have to deal with in that job? What are some situations you trained for, or some unusual things that could happen? Or what's the weirdest thing that could happen that you know how to handle in that company?
I don't really know how to answer any of those questions, honestly.
Okay. That's interesting. Um, so what types, well, can you at least can you answer what types of situations did you need to train for?
Sure. So, like, I think one of the biggest situations that I had to train for was what to do if I can't answer a question. And the most common question that I get that I myself can't answer is, where's my bus? Because I can't answer that because I can't read the map. And there's a map on our website that shows the buses as they're moving.
Hmm. Hmm.
And obviously, as a blind screen reader user, I can't read that because it updates in real time.
That's cool.
So JAWS would never be able to keep up with it because it's moving faster than what JAWS can read. So for that, I would have to transfer you to one of my other colleagues who could then help.
I see. I see. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, hopefully, as voiceover in JAWS gets more advanced, hopefully they'll be able to read a screen like that in real time as the screen changes. Um, with telemetry reports and things like that. Yeah, that would be very complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So,
I was just thinking that maybe, possibly, I don't know if this would work, but maybe the Picture Smart feature might be able to read it. Crazy story. I can't remember what I was doing or what website I was on, but I was on a website the other day, a couple weeks ago actually, and I had to fill in this CAPTCHA for something, and literally the only option was for an image. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? And there was nobody else around that could help me. And so, just in the back of my mind, I thought, okay, what am I going to do? I can't scan it with my phone like I normally would. And instinctively, I'm like, okay, let's try this. I hope this works. I pressed insert space enter, which, or I'm sorry, insert space P enter, which brings up Picture Smart and has it read or scan the image or whatever. And whatever this CAPTCHA was, Picture Smart solved it. I didn't have to do anything.
well, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was shocked, honestly. I didn't think that Picture Smart could do that, but it did.
You'd be surprised. Yeah. Yeah. I've had to do that too with voiceover, solving problems that way, not knowing, what voiceover is capable of doing, and then you try something and it's like, oh my goodness, wow, it's actually worked. Yeah. Well, that's very interesting.
Does
I was thinking
VoiceOver actually have that capability? Can it do that?
to read and to describe an image.
No,
Oh.
to solve a CAPTCHA. Like Picture
No,
Smart
but well,
managed to
I'm not
find all
sure.
the.
The answer is I'm not sure, but what I would have had it done is just get an audio challenge. That's what I do.
Yeah, yeah, well, here, for whatever reason, that wasn't an option.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, as time goes on, I think voiceover and JAWS will be able to handle those types of situations a lot more smoothly. So, absolutely, sure, okay, good.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Apple has their big event on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm actually testing all the updates. I do every year.
That's interesting. So, what can you tell us about these updates?
Um, iOS 18.1, which is not out yet, it'll be out next month, I think, is the update that will bring Apple Intelligence to the table. And Apple Intelligence is pretty awesome because with it, you can have things rewritten. You just select the text that you want to rewrite, and it'll give you options at the bottom of the screen above the keyboard for shortening something or correcting grammar, that kind of thing. For users of Braille screen input, now this really excites me. For users of Braille screen input, you can have it open the moment you enter a text field, including entering your passcode. And I haven't seen this mentioned anywhere in the release notes for any update that I've installed thus far. But if you use Braille screen input to open apps from your home screen, you can now use contracted Braille.
Yeah, that's super cool. I know about that a little bit. That is super, super cool stuff, Jessica. Absolutely. Yeah, to be
And
able.
there's a new gesture that might actually be easier for some people to do to get into Braille screen input. It's no longer in the rotor. So let me see if I can have this make sense. To get into Braille screen input, you do a double tap with two fingers on both edges of the screen. So I hold my phone with my charge port to the left. So that means you're essentially tapping at the top and bottom of the screen. And I use my middle fingers for some reason because that's just what lands there. So I double tap with my two middle fingers and Braille screen input opens.
And this means that you're able to, I mean, I've heard of it. Can you kind of express to someone who's not familiar and to refresh my memory, can you express how it's helpful to us blind folks? Hmm.
Braille screen input?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Sure, absolutely. I will even teach you and anyone else who wants to learn how to use it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
In iOS 18, and I have this list, there is a huge list of commands. So, are you familiar with Braille displays?
Are you speaking about one that I might have seen in the past on like a Braille note or a note-taking device like that, where you have your six keys for the letters for the alphabet, and then the backspace and enter and things like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. So, you enter what are called chords, except you obviously don't include the spacebar. You just do the letter. And the command to switch between modes is now a three-finger swipe right or left. It's a toggle. You'll either hear VoiceOver say command mode or Braille input mode. For example, if you do the letter H once in command mode, you'll end up at your home screen. And I recently discovered this next one. If you do it twice quickly, that opens the app switcher.
Mm-hmm.
If you do a Braille dash dots 3.6, that is the equivalent of a double tap.
Okay. Right. Yeah. I'm kind of picturing. Mm-hmm. Right. Excellent.
So if you do an L when you're in command mode, so that's dots 1, 2, 3, that will take you to the top of the screen. If you do the reverse of that, 4, 5, 6, that will take you to the bottom.
Hmm.
Same as it would on a braille display.
So it's sort of like using the iPhone with a braille display on top of everything, basically.
Kind of. C is copy, X is cut, V is paste. Just by
Right.
itself.
I remember. Yep. Mm-hmm. Right.
Z is undo. Can't remember if there's one for redo now. I have to look at my list. I do not have your email address, but what I'll probably do is drop this document that I'm referring
Mm-hmm.
to, if it lets you, into our WhatsApp group.
Sure. Why not? You can. Fine with me. Yeah.
If
Other people will everybody's going to love that because I don't know how many of the people in the WhatsApp group are use Braille screen input, but I'm sure some of them do. Yes. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm.
I'm not even in the private group,
Right. I
I was
know.
actually
Oh, I know.
surprised when you
Oh,
mentioned that earlier, because when you said private group, I thought you meant our text conversation that's on WhatsApp.
no, no. There's after this conversation, after this great episode here, maybe tonight or tomorrow at some point, I'll simply send you over the link to there's a private group for the guests. Uh-huh. Yeah. And
Okay,
it's great.
cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and it's great because all the people there's only one rule in that group, which is that you have to contribute one episode to Aaron's opinion. But after you do that, no matter what country you're from all over the world, you're in the group and you can and trust me when I tell you, I don't have rules. So I let people post whatever they want, however much they want. I don't care. Post as much as you want. Talk to everybody, send private messages, talk amongst yourselves. We've had wonderful, wonderful conversations there with many people that also share a lot of our interests in this tech stuff. And I know we have some Android users and people who use different software. So it'll be wonderful for you because you'll learn from all over the world how different blind people accomplish the same stuff. So it's super cool, super fascinating. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah.
Are
Well,
you and
great.
I the only ones in the group that are hams, or are there other hams there too?
No, no. Well, let's walk in that direction. So, um, technically, there was a South African ham in the group, but I don't think he's in the group anymore. So yeah,
Ah,
yeah, yeah. But you and I would be the only hams in there at the moment, which reminds me. So a lot of blind people know you for your interest and your personality in amateur radio. So talk about amateur radio. For those who don't know, what is amateur radio and how did you get so interested in it and like what's going on with that? Tell people.
oh my goodness. Amateur radio has been around for years. It basically is a way of communicating without needing a cellular network or the internet or anything. All you need is a radio and a license, which I have. I became a ham in 2022. Actually, my Elmer, John, is an ACB member. I met him because I joined the ACB. So that kind of ties in. And the ACB actually has its own amateur radio group, of which I am a very active member, called ACBRA, or ACB Radio Amateurs. So if you Google that, you'll find their website. You can check them out. It's only $10 a year to join. They are extremely funny. I love that group.
That's
Um,
good. That's good. I noticed that amongst the amateur radio community, we all have uh, a very uh, a very quirky personality, but a very entertaining and endearing personality. There's a lot of characters. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
yes, yes,
Hmm.
definitely. And I am actually studying for my general as I speak.
Well, that's wonderful. When are you planning on taking your general?
Hoping February. The place that I took my technician test through does tests the second Tuesday of the month. And so I'm hoping that if I test on that second Tuesday, that my license will be in the system by that next.
Right. Probably a week later, right?
Around that, my friend Austin, KA3TTT,
Tango, tango, tango. Yeah. Mhm.
yes, took and passed his extra, and he posted to Mastodon like 2 or 3 days later that it was in the database. So I don't think upgrades take as long as regular processing once somebody is a new licensee.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that's good to know. For those blind people who are interested, though, in getting into the hobby, what advice would you give? And, what can you tell them about, taking the test and learning the material?
Absorb as much as you can. Get a radio even before you go to take your test so you can listen, because that's what I did. I listened for like a month or two before I actually took my test, so I knew how things worked. And if you have questions as you go along, people like myself, along with many others, and I'm sure you're a part of this too, Aaron, would be happy to answer any questions you may have. The ham community is extremely helpful.
I've noticed they definitely are. Yes. Hmm.
And that's part of what being a ham is helping other people. And that honestly is one of my biggest passions. My two biggest passions in life are helping people and technology. And ham radio blends those two greatly.
It definitely does. Yeah, it's a very good observation. Yeah. I would say my passions in life are podcasting, teaching English, and speaking French because I'm a very active and proud bilingual person. I'm really into to language acquisition. That's one of my sections that I really love to geek out about with people. I have French students who I teach online, and every day we like to go back and forth from French to English, English to French, weird verbs and weird structures, so that I
Huh.
can say all sorts of weird stuff in French that I wouldn't necessarily have to say, but, that I know how to say, you know? Yeah. What about you? Have you dabbled in being a bilingual person?
Yes, so I didn't get a foreign language in high school, but I have a friend from Tennessee who is slowly in the process of helping me learn Spanish because she said that that would be an easy language for me to pick up.
Well, there's no easy, it's a bit of a misnomer that French is easy or Spanish is easy. There's no easy language. If a language was easy, it wouldn't have become a language. So there's no easy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The easiest, I guess, for somebody who speaks English. The easiest to
Actually,
pick up would be Spanish.
actually, it's not.
Okay, well then what is it?
Supposedly, the Dutch language from the Netherlands is the most relatable to someone who is squeamish, perhaps, about language learning or and speaks English. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Dutch is not nearly as important of a language as it once was. And Dutch is not spoken in nearly as much of the world as it once was. Dutch used to be a major language. Yeah, for quite a while. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's another reason why I picked Spanish, because there's even people here in the US that speak it. For example, I have a friend that I go to church with. Her and her sister are both from Mexico, and they speak Spanish. When they're talking to me, they speak English, but she's even been helping me with Spanish.
I see. So how are you progressing? Are you progressing with your Spanish?
Into
Good. Good, good. Great. Great, great. Okay, well that's very good. And in all your amateur radio stuff, what has been maybe an interesting conversation or a funny conversation that you've had? There's a lot of silly stuff and a lot of interesting things that can happen when you're having global conversation. So what do you think? Mm-hmm.
I think the most interesting conversation that I've had was meeting this guy Dave from the UK, and I forget his call sign. I think you might know who I'm talking about. I think he ends it with a /2 or something. It's weird.
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever.
Something. I think I might have it in my Braille sense. I'll text it to you on WhatsApp when I find it. I keep a database of people that I've talked to in my Braille sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way that I keep my logs now.
Right. Well, that's interesting. And why was that an interesting conversation?
Just the topics that we got into, and he was telling me about his life and how he ended up in the UK, and it was just a really cool conversation that I had on air. And I never in a million years thought that I'd be able to talk to anybody from the UK like that. So that was cool.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Do you spend a lot of time on Discord, by the way?
Not really, but I'm a part of the iAccessibility team, and we have a Discord. So I will be once I figure out how to use it with JAWS. Do you know how to do that?
No, I use it with my iPhone. But speaking of servers to send me on WhatsApp, eh, gee, if you could send me that server on WhatsApp, I would love to join their server. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
iAccessibility?
Yes.
Let me see if I can figure out how. Yeah, I will
So
do
what
that.
you do is you go to the server and there should be a button somewhere that says add members or invite new members. And then you can send it over on WhatsApp to me or copy the link and paste it back. But that would be a good server for me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I try to join servers with other blind people who are into the same kind of geeky, techie stuff that I am. Um, but I also join servers where the blind people are going to be interesting and kind of like engaged in my content that I produce for everyone else, like kind of at the same time. So I like to join kind of servers that are good to be part of. Yeah. How many people do
Oh,
you think are in that server, Jessica?
no, I've never actually looked at it. I actually have my own server, and I don't know why Discord wanted me to create one, but they did, so you can join that too if you want. I don't even know how many members I have.
Well, that's great. You can send me that one. Sure, sure.
It just has my name on it. It's just Jess Dale's Hangout is the name of it.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Well, great. Yeah, you can open a voice channel and have a lot of great international conversations. Similarly to amateur radio, it's just through Discord, but it's a very similar means of communication. You don't really know where your conversation will take you. That's kind of the beauty of it. Yeah. Hmm.
Does Discord let you record your conversations?
That it does do. I don't do it, but I don't know how to do it. But there's this other group that I'm in on Discord. There's this other server I'm in, and I know that they do that. So there's a lot of really advanced stuff that can be done just through Discord. But sure, send me over those servers. I'll check them out.
I
That's
was gonna
great.
I was gonna say because if nothing else, I may be able to do that for my podcast.
I would not. Discord was not invented for that. It was not marketed for that. So you might be able to figure it out, but I'm not quite certain. I wouldn't do it. But I could be wrong. I don't know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. What I do nowadays is get whoever I want to interview on a
Mm-hmm.
phone call
Mm-hmm.
and record the phone call with iOS 18.1 because that's one of its functions is
Mm.
recording phone calls.
Right, right. But how's the audio quality though?
I believe I sent you the link. If you go back and listen to episode 1, you'll hear it.
That's true. That's a great segue into, so Jessica, you're also dabbling in getting into podcasting. Now, podcasting, I can help you a lot. We at Aaron's Opinion, because the other guests on the show, some of them are podcasters like us too. So you'll be able to gain a lot of podcast knowledge from the group too. But so what tipped you over the edge? What made you want to get into podcasting yourself? Because it's a great outlet for me and it's a great medium for sure.
You, Aaron. I actually had a podcast when I was in college, and
Uh-huh.
it's still available if people want to go check it out. It's called The College Conversation, and it's literally just me talking about whatever I happen to be struggling with that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I only released 6 episodes, but this one is vastly different because this one is called Visionary Voices. Now, do not type that into iTunes because a whole bunch of stuff will come up and my feed is not one of them. I don't know if my feed is broken. I don't know if it is
Let's
how to fix it.
let's solve let's solve this. So, how did you create your RSS to begin with?
Did not. Podbean did.
Okay, that's fine. Um, you should probably be able to go into the Podbean kind of back office, your settings, your profile settings, and you should be able to see your RSS feed.
I can.
Huh. Okay. Well, maybe we can talk off air. Actually, I think we should do that because I have some ideas, some other ways that would for you to be able to kind of reset this problem so that people can easily find the feed because that's a critical feature is that people need to be able to find the feed very quickly. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It also has my username in it for parking.
you simply, I mean, I appreciate you taking the time to send me the episode. That's great, but you sending out an episode individually will not sustain. I mean, I'm just being honest. That's not going to sustain.
Oh, I
So
get
you,
it. I get
so
it.
yeah, you have to be able to have an RSS feed that, because remember what RSS stands for, right?
Right?
Right? Real simple syndication. The point
Yeah.
is you aren't supposed to be manually telling the system when you upload new stuff. The system should be detecting new content on that feed.
And it does so long as I give the feed to people who want it. Like I plugged the feed into Apple Podcasts just to make sure that it worked,
Mm-hmm.
and it did. It automatically brought in episode 1.
Hmm.
So even though the feed shows up as an XML, which I don't know why it does, but it does,
Hmm.
it is a valid RSS feed. I tried it, it works.
Right. All right. Well, very good. Well, we can definitely work on that project. There's something that I want to say, but I don't want to say it on the recording. But but I sort of have a couple ideas in my mind about sometimes having, this is not about Podbean. This is never about the company. What it's about is it's about technology, and sometimes the technology for these things just gets stuck. And sometimes these feeds just get stuck and need to be reset somehow, or redirected or reprogrammed or something like that. But sometimes you just have to redo the feed. So I have noticed that. Anyway.
Right. Well, I'm afraid that if I change the name, like if I take my name, my
Mm-hmm.
username out of it and put in the name of the podcast, which I probably should do, then I would break it. And I don't want to break the feed.
The feed shouldn't break like that. It shouldn't be that. It's not that fragile. So, but anyway, what can someone expect on Visionary Voices? So, what is Visionary Voices? Mm-hmm.
Will eventually get to be interviewed on it. And basically, what it is similar to what I'm doing with you tonight.
Right.
I will ask you a series of questions that I came up with, and you get to tell your story through those questions. That's basically all it is my friends in the blind and visually impaired community telling their story from their perspective.
Sounds great. Sounds good to me. Let's go. Absolutely. So, who are some, if I were to ask you this question, who are some blind people that, in addition to and apart from Aaron's opinion, who are some other blind people that you would love to sit down and interview?
Um, Eventually I'm going to do one with my Elmer, John McCann.
You keep on, by the way, this is going to sound silly. You keep on using that word Elmer.
Yes,
What does that, I know I should know what it means, but what does Elmer mean?
that is a ham radio term, and your Elmer is the person who teaches you about ham radio.
Ah, and why is it called an Elmer?
I don't know. I researched it a while ago, but I have since forgotten.
Oh,
But there is a reason behind it. If you just type that question into Google, you'll get a bunch of results.
that's interesting. Okay, well, very good. Very good. Well, I hope that you are able to get your RSS feed kind of reset and kind of on the right track as time goes on. And the more stuff you have, the more interviews you do, the easier it will become for you to be able to manage that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm impressed that the first episode has 41 downloads.
Well, great. That's wonderful.
Yes,
That's wonderful. Very
yes.
good. Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm
it just
working
goes to
on,
show that podcasting is a very powerful media form. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm working on episode 2. Episode 2 has been recorded. I just need to edit it and
Mm-hmm.
publish once it's ready,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll go from there.
Very good. Excellent.
I
Excellent.
do not have a set schedule for my podcast because
You don't need one.
I never know when I'm going to be able to record. I mean, I even have, I think I dropped this in our private chat, but I even have the Fairlight Recording Studio app on my phone,
I'll check
and
that out. I might
I
even
actually,
I might even program this episode using that to see how easy it is to put the tracks together, because you know that I love stuff like that because I have an intro, interview, outro, that type of thing. Yeah, how does that studio app work, by the way? Tell us about that for another minute, and then I have a final question for you.
sure. So, Fairlight Recording Studio, I've been using on and off for a couple years now, and it basically allows you to record an episode of your podcast right on your phone, and you can set it up just like you described with your intro, interview, and outro. You obviously have to record the interview.
Or you have to
Um,
import them into that app, right?
yes.
Right. That's what
So
I do. I do a lot of importing. Mm-hmm.
for example, I have a folder on my OneDrive where I keep all my podcasting stuff, and right now I just import into Reaper. But if I was out and about and for some reason didn't have my computer, but I had my cell phone or my iPad, I could use Fairlight Recording Studio, import my intro sound, import my interview, and then import my outro sound effect, and then make a template out of it, which I haven't figured out how to do. I did it yesterday by accident, but I actually used the wrong sound. So now I have to figure out how to do it again. And I can't figure it out, so I may ask in the group.
Right.
I'm sure somebody
Yeah,
in your
I that would be great. Well, definitely, I'm going to take a look at this. And of course, can I like add background music to my intros and outros? Does it have its own music library built in?
It does not,
Oh,
but
it does not.
if you have what you need in your whatever, Dropbox, OneDrive, iCloud Drive,
Mm-hmm.
then you can import from there. That's
Okay.
why I use OneDrive and all that stuff, is because you can just drop stuff in right from there.
Right, right. So I see. So I would put in my tracks, my intro, interview, outro, and then does it just formulate it into one file that I can then export? Or how do you get the file that you can put into your distribution software?
There's a user guide that explains all about how to do that, that's built into the app. And if you feel like it, you can go to their website and download the user guide as a PDF.
Mm-hmm. Right. Interesting.
So
Interesting.
that way, if you're sitting at your computer while you have the app on your phone, you don't have to flip flop between screens on your
Right.
phone.
Sure. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's great. That's great.
And the app is $30
Mm-hmm.
for the pro features, but it's a one-time fee. You just pay that once and you're good to go.
Right. So what are the pro features?
Oh my goodness, there are way too many for me to list. You'll like this one. There's a feature, actually two of them, called pre-production and post-production that are for podcasters mainly, and those are both pro features. The user guide details what is and is not included in pro as well.
Okay. All right. Well, I will certainly take a look, and I think the other people around Aaron's opinion will really like this. A lot of people are really struggling to find good and easy ways to publish their podcasts. So this will be very good. And overall, is the app easy to use and intuitive?
It is, and fully accessible.
Okay, we're definitely going to check that out. And we're going to get back to you about that because there's a lot of blind people who are all over the world who are desperately trying to find easier solutions to get things done. So, Jessica Dail, I got to tell you, you did a great job. You came in all honesty, I know that you had some apprehensions about being a guest on a podcast. I don't know why you felt so perhaps apprehensive because you did a wonderful interview. You did a wonderful, wonderful job covering all the great stuff you do. So,
Thank you. And just quickly, for
sure.
those who are, besides us,
Right.
the developers of Ferrite Recording Studio are on Mastodon.
Oh,
If you
okay.
search their name, it's Wuji. I believe it's Woji, I think is how you spell it. Um, I don't know where they're out of, but I sent them an email today because that's their preferred method if you need support, is
Mm-hmm.
sending an email. And they did respond. So they're extremely responsive and they will, of course, help you if you have questions. I will help you as much as I can.
Sure.
The one limitation to the app is that it does not sync via iCloud because of the file size. Some of the files that people import, I guess, are too big to be
Mm-hmm.
synced via iCloud. So if you want something on one device, like if you're working on your phone and you want to move to your iPad or whatever, you can use AirDrop to transfer it. That's what the user guide tells you to do.
Right. Absolutely. That's really good. Yeah.
I just wanted to make people aware of that so that if they're like, why is my stuff not synchronized? It doesn't support that.
Right. All right. Well, very good. Well, we'll definitely check that out and get back to you about that.
No
So,
problem.
so if you can ask me only one more question to really make me sweat to see if I'm worth my salt as a podcaster, what do you really want to know about Aaron's opinion?
What's the best episode you've ever done?
All episodes of Aaron's opinion are the best because each episode is the best for the guest. Each episode is an opportunity for the guest to have a great experience and to share their life story.
Yes, I like that.
Well, good. Well, great. All right. And let's see here. Okay, so if someone wants to get in touch with Jessica Dail, how do they do that?
You can send me an email at jldale, DAIL 13 at outlook.com. You can find me on Mastodon. I have a couple of them now. KE8UPE at mastodon.hams.social is my main one. And the one for the podcast that I just created the other day is Visionary Voices at tweezecake.social. But if you go to the search tab of whatever client you're using and just type in Visionary Voices, 2 words with a space, you'll find it and can follow it there. The RSS feed is also pinned at the top of the page for that instance.
All right. Well, very good. Well, as we say, you can type up a good description, a good paragraph about who you are as a person, and then you can include all of your links at the bottom, and then that'll be the episode description. All right. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Oh, okay. Good. Good. Excellent. All
Is
right.
that something you want me to do?
Yes, definitely, because listeners like to be able to open the description and see who the guest is before they push download. So that's always important. Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right. Well, Jessica Dail, Visionary Voices, KE8UPE. However you look at it, you have your finger in many pies. You have your stick in, you put your stick in many fires, as we say. But absolutely, you are so welcome here in the Aaron's Opinion family, and we hope to connect with you soon. All right?
Aw, thank you, Aaron. You're amazing.
Oh, you're always welcome on Aaron's Opinion. Have a wonderful evening from wherever you're listening. And as we say here at Aaron's Opinion, be well, everybody, and we'll connect next time. Thank you so much, everybody. Help one person today, help 1 million people tomorrow.